to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we talk about comic books. We're your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
Hey, I'm Shane, and I sound better this time too.
You sound a lot better. If you're enjoying our content, please remember to subscribe, like, share. This week we are taking a step back from where we were last week. Instead of doing 6, we have done 3 issues. We did Infinity 6, New Avengers 12, and Avengers 24. We kind of reached our end of Infinity. And starting on like a new kind of like storyline here. Again, this is all really connected, leading its way to Secret Wars. So that's I think a good segue point just to start off is like, I think they really doubled down. You know, we get the end of a story here, and I was kind of afraid that they were going to go off in a weird direction and like not have it as connected anymore. But like they kind of really doubled down on that connection to the overall incursion story that they're doing. I thought that was pretty cool that they made a point to do that.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, that's all I was going to say was I enjoyed that. Most stories, when you read them, like in terms of comics, at least from my experience, it's just one, like, you end the event or whatever world-breaking nonsense they have to deal with, and the next thing, you know, in the few comics that I've read from like my own series that are not Marvel, the next thing is like maybe there's like a filler bit, and then it's immediately onto a different thing. So to see that this kind of continues in its own way is nice, because I think it just highlights how fucking serious it all is.
Totally. Yeah, no, Hickman's just like we've been saying this whole time. He's just very good at progressing an overall story really well. And I have more on that when we talk about the 3rd issue, because there are some things that are like actually connected to his Fantastic Four run, which we can talk about. But let's talk about Infinity, because the story's done now. We reached the end, and how do you guys feel as far as that story goes? Enjoying it?
I enjoyed it. I didn't think Cap was going to get kind of manhandled the way he did with Thanos, but like we talked about last time we talked, it was about Thanos' strength and how powerful he actually is. So it makes sense that Cap got his butt pushed in a little bit, but
even the
whole
Hulk got
really
wrecked.
Cool. Yeah, he did.
And this is a pretty big issue too.
It was a long issue, yeah, and there's a lot of things that come out of it too. Like, we see like some serious implications from the Inhumans. There are serious implications for Wakandans and T'Challa. But trying to formulate my thought in a cohesive way.
No worries.
I don't know. But I feel like there's just a lot of big parts. I mean, we learn things like the Inhumans were always going to explode their Terrigen bomb no matter what happens. So, and I feel like that's going to spin off into its own thing. I don't know if you guys saw at the end of the issue, but there is something called Inhumanity. I think it's like its own story that they're like breaking off from this. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I mean, any specific moments that stuck out for either two of you in Infinity? At least the 6th issue, not recapping the whole thing, just that last one.
I mean, the last issue, like I said, besides the battle part, and then Thane coming to the rescue, kind of. I mean, he definitely saved the Avengers, but I don't know how well that's gonna end in the long run. But that whole part of the issue was cool for me. I thought, watching them figure out that they're not able to beat Thanos as well as they thought they were going to was kind of interesting.
I'm really curious to see if that Thane story goes anywhere, at least in this run.
Yeah, because he seems like he could be like a really OP character.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
What were you gonna say, Shane?
That that whole bit really surprised me because, like, if you compare it to the MCU, like, Ebony Maw was this character who didn't, like, he echoed Thanos' statements in the MCU, and here, like, he ramped that up by 1,000 to where when Thanos, like, when Thane did what he did to Thanos, it's almost as if he didn't care because he was just like, oh well, you're even more powerful, so it's fine. And it's like, oh, so you're just following your own secret agenda, which I kind of want to know what you're up to now too.
Right, he has a lot more ambition in the comic than he did in the movies, and
Yeah.
that, like, where is that going? Like, I hope Hickman ties that into a later part of his story. I don't know if he will. This is really as far as I've read, so like this is all new territory for me now.
Ah, so you don't have your bird's eye view anymore, huh?
I don't.
I feel though, like, for me, Corvus Glaive was more of his right-hand man than what the hell's his name?
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. Like, in the MCU, I feel like they kind of swapped them there. You know, like, I feel like Ebony Maw was more of Thanos' like end-all be-all guy, you know, and they kind of swapped it around, which was an interesting viewpoint for me because, you know, I have no other knowledge of Corvus Glaive other than what we've read in this comic. So it was cool to see him as a bigger part rather than just one of his minions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that I agree with you. This is all I know of him. So like seeing like some more, seeing him take that role that's higher than just a minion is really neat.
And I didn't know him and Proxima were married either.
Yeah, I don't know if that's MCU canon, but I didn't realize it either. And then the fact that they removed Supergiant altogether was kind of weird to me, but well.
That character seemed kind of cool to me. I mean, just the whole, like, I don't know if it's a he or she or what it is, but
Alien.
Like, yeah, it was in the orphanage where his first offspring was, and you know, he kills his first offspring, and the Supergiant begs for him to do the same to him, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, well, you got to earn it. You want to die, you're gonna earn it first, you know. And that was kind of a cool insight into the character for me.
I like that also. You get a little backstory there. You know, like, I think they shared cribs. Like, to that point, like, Thanos' child shared cribs with Supergiant. Yeah.
I also think that was interesting that, you know, one of the ending lines there was, you know, fulfilling my word, master, and your end as well for making me wait. And so it's like the resentment there, like still wanting to die after all this time, but also like a giant, like, okay, well, you made me wait and you made me earn it. I've earned it, and I'm telling myself that I've earned it, and I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, I'm going to destroy this whole planet. And then the segue here into Maximus, like that moment is like sitting there with the fucking detonator, just like
bitch, click.
You know, not only does he mock Supergiant, and he's like, oh, I'm the smartest guy in the room, blah, 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 blah. But then he clicks the button, and everyone's like, oh, fuck, he set the detonator off. And then Lockjaw comes in, and he's like, I'm going to teleport you to a random-ass place.
That was awesome.
Fucking love it. I don't know, I couldn't tell if that was a planet we've seen already. I was trying to, like, look at it, but I think it was just random.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything that we've encountered that had any kind of real
Significance.
stake in the game so far.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, now it's gone, so there's no stake. I don't know. Infinity, I think, wrapped up pretty nicely. So I was kind of happy to be done with it, but then I also thought that the epilogue issue of New Avengers was kind of like meh. Like, it was fine. But it's as much as...
I didn't even really, I couldn't even remember what that issue was about, to be honest with you.
I feel like it just felt like an extension of the last issue of Infinity. So maybe some of the events in there I'm remembering as Infinity or vice versa. So they kind of just meld together. And I guess that's a good spin-off or a good tie-in book, right? So you can't really tell the difference between the tie-in and the issue. But I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it really felt like they could have just... So, okay, we talked about that the other one was 50-something pages, and this one was only 27, but it really just felt like it shouldn't have been a separate issue. This was an epilogue, a wrap-up, it didn't need to be a separate thing because it was still touching on all those previous points.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, and maybe they did it for continuity, or just page space. You have so much you can put into one book, right? You have to make a quota. Oh, I'm gonna put in the second book or whatever. That way, I have all this content, but I can get 2 books out of it. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
Out of 53 pages, they probably ran a printer ink too.
Right. Yeah, and then, so I guess the biggest takeaways from that mid-issue is, T'Challa and Shuri are fighting. He can't go to Wakanda anymore because of Namor and the relationship he has with Namor in the Illuminati.
Which he kind of seemed like he was mocking Black Panther too a little bit there,
Oh, yeah.
In haha, I got you, but you got yourself too. It was a fun interaction between the two of them.
Namor is definitely a piece of shit. Now, I'm curious. I'm really, really curious to see what he's going to be like in the MCU, and not having seen Black Panther yet. I want to know. Is he going to be the piece of shit that I want him to be? Please.
I think he's going to be a pretty big piece of shit. I mean, from everything that I've heard, not seeing the movie as well, he's a pretty much a piece of shit.
Oh man, God, it would have been so great to see Chadwick on screen with him. Rest in peace, my friend. Oh my goodness.
Seriously. So in that issue, we have him getting kicked out of Wakanda because of that relationship, but then also, and this is something I didn't quite understand. They talked about the threat with Swan, right? And the builders say how very ominous. She's basically explaining to them, what we were kind of talking about earlier. And one of the other things that is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How the builders aren't in every universe, and how they still have to kind of buckle down and make the hard call.
Yeah, and they're basically, you're celebrating this victory, but
it's not a victory.
It's not a victory.
You guys skated by again, and now you're going to have to start making hard choices. Are you going to be up to doing that?
The thing that I didn't understand is it seemed kind of out of place to me for having. I mean, I don't have any context here. Is when Strange locked himself in the room and told Wong "Hey, don't let me out. I need to read this forbidden Bible, whatever the heck it's called." and he's like, I am not a
Blood
pawn,
Bible.
and like the Blood Bible, like that just seemed a little out of place to me.
Well, I think he's getting ready. Like, he's preparing himself to make those hard calls because I don't think he thinks the rest of the Avengers or the Illuminati are going to be able to make those calls. Like, I think he has a very low respect, or not respect, but thought on Steve's, ability to sacrifice for the greater good.
Steve's not even part of the equation, though.
No, he's not. But like he was just my example because they obviously took him out of the equation.
Right. No, that makes sense.
I could see that. Yeah. Thank you for explaining it, because like as I read that, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I get that you're pissed off, but I'm really not quite sure what you're doing.
Yeah, I think he's just gearing up to make those hard calls. At least that's the way it seemed to me.
Okay.
Ian, do you have a thought on that?
No, I think you're right. He's preparing. It really doesn't have you don't have an answer for what he's doing or like his thought process yet because it's so early in what he's doing. But I totally think we're gonna get answers to that as we go forward. What was Doctor Strange doing there? What's the Blood Bible do? We'll get there, but I don't know if he necessarily doubts the other members of the Illuminati, but he's just trying to make sure he can take control of the situation,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see like the inner workings of their multiverse. I mean, talk about the builders and how they don't exist in every single multiverse. They exist in or every universe, I should say. They exist in about like just under 5,000 of them, which is kind of crazy, like nice little detail that they added there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty wild.
Yeah. But like, I don't really think there's a lot of decent talking points for that issue. We kind of really touched on them. Shane, do you have anything else, or Al, do you have anything else from that one that you guys recall or remember that you want to talk about? Because I think it hit the major points.
Nah, that was pretty much it for me.
Yeah, same.
Okay, cool. So I mentioned earlier with the third issue, there were some callbacks to the Fantastic Four run that Hickman did. I want to talk about that for a sec. So we see we see the year 3030, and you see like a joint like Stark Industries and like the Baxter Foundation together.
Yeah.
And one of the characters that shows up is Franklin Richards, who is the son of Sue and Reed. And Franklin's immortal. So that's why he's like looking as good as he does 1,000 years into the future.
Oh, wow.
And there's a cool little story that Hickman wrote about how Franklin and the Thing grow super old together because the Thing only ages once a week. Or no, 1 year. Once a year for a whole week he ages. Because he has a serum where he turns human for a week. And he only ages while he's human.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like it goes on and on, and even goes further than 1,000 years in the future. We're talking multiple thousands of years in the future, and eventually the Thing dies, and like Franklin actually goes off into space to become a god because he's basically a god. He can control universes. He can create universes, I should say, and he's like Dr. Manhattan, but like not blue and naked,
Right.
Okay.
So that was cool seeing him there because in Hickman's canon, he is alive at that point, and I'm sure Ben Grimm is somewhere around there too.
Yeah.
So that was really neat as a tie into his book. But I'm curious what you think of now that we're starting with something new. We're not going to have like this stuff on Mars really anymore. There's going to be
I'm
different.
completely fine with.
Yeah. they did go to Mars in that issue. There's some type of setup there that they used to like build this machine. But what did you guys think of this? I mean, it's weird. They had to like trap a planet and like phase it out of existence, but like keep it in the same place as Earth. And I find that
Yeah, I
interesting.
didn't quite understand how they were. What was? I mean, I understood that they were phasing it and keeping it in the same. How did they end up doing that? I feel like that wasn't explained real well.
No.
Yeah, there's a little lost there too.
How can you explain it?
Yeah.
Fair.
Oof. That was like the worst game I've ever put up. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, but no, you can't really explain it, and we don't really know its purpose either because this is very much a setup issue. You know, like I feel like nothing progressed. We just kind of get this planet, and it's like, okay, well, tune in next week to figure out what this is for.
Right.
Although I do want to say, like, given Tony Stark's track record, the fact that like the big reveal that this is his like granddaughter who went back in time to fix this, and you know she was just like, yeah, this is a gift, like this is, you could use this as a power source, you can do whatever with it, like this will keep some people off your back, like given that she's related to Tony Stark, there is definitely something more insane coming. It's just not revealed what, because like with things that Tony does, there's always some more purpose to it.
But how is she related? I mean, like, she can't be straight up his grandkid. We're talking 1,000 years.
Yeah, and like she just calls him grandfather, so like I don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see more of that character and like learn more about it. And it.
I'm wondering if we're going to jump into the future and get some more stuff like that.
That'd be cool. I mean, also, I'm curious to see how it works. Like, is there a future because the universe hasn't imploded yet? Is the incursions not affecting time? Does the universe die all at once across all time? Because a future, 1,000 years in the future, and normal thinking implies that they win, they stop the incursions.
Right.
But living outside of the comic book world, we know Secret Wars happens. And like time, I guess time is separate. You know, it's weird. I don't know. It hurts my brain. I'm hurting my brain. But yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts on where you think things are going to go here?
I think you might be.
Enough... Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Ian, I think you might be onto something just because, you know, thinking about how she's calling him grandfather, and you know, it's what, 1,000 years? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
1,000 years in the future. So if it happens all at once, I have a feeling there's going to be some like time nonsense that does happen. Because I mean, she could have chosen to call him anything. She could have called him Tony. She could have, you know, whatever. But she chose grandfather. So like, I'm not going to ignore that. But I feel like there's some time nonsense that happens there.
Right. I mean, Hickman wrote grandfather on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know. We shall see, because
yeah, we
there
definitely
is some...
don't have enough information yet to really be able to say either way.
Exactly. I'm very curious. It looks like it's going to be cool. I mean, everything Hickman runs, he loves doing the time nonsense, you know? So...
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I wish we don't even have any TV stuff to talk about tonight. But I think we're kind of at the end of our rope here with these issues. I'm not really having any other things to talk about. I don't
Yeah,
want to stretch this
wasn't
thinner.
there wasn't a lot that happened for us to really have a whole
I
big
would say
lot to talk about.
the meat and potatoes for this was the first issue. Everything else kind of quietly ended. You know.
Yeah, and that last one was just like, okay, here's the next thing that they're going to be dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right. It very much set up.
no, I agree. I think we kind of hit all the points on that one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about next week real quick. So we are back to just doing New Avengers. So New Avengers is 13, 14, and 15 next week. So we'll have to wait a little bit on the time travel BS story. So let's see if we can get a little bit more incursion stuff. Which I have a feeling like they're going to have to deal with. Maybe we'll get some Doctor Strange stuff. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. And then after that, one more week, and then we kind of shift gears a little bit, and we go into a story called Original Sin. So,
I've heard of that.
So Original Sin doesn't tie in as well. There's actually another writer that does it. However, there are tie-in books with our story that I feel like if we're not reading Original Sin, we won't understand.
Gotcha.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay. So yeah, that is it for us today. Just want to thank everybody for listening, and please, comment, subscribe, like. I don't know who listens, but shout out to you. Again, thanks everybody. I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
I'm Shane.
And this was Comic Book Wednesdays. Have a good night, guys.
Have a night.